The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. Welcome. It's Tuesday and it's the Tuesday after the time change for us here in the United States. And I certainly don't want to speak for everyone, but I do want to speak for the many voices who have written in and said, we're so messed up by this. Like, it's almost as though the whole week so far, and it's only Tuesday, so it's only been a couple of days, but it seems like everything has gone slightly off the rails. So if you're feeling that way too, write in and be a part of the party that we're all a little bit messed up. And I don't know, I said back in the fall when we were all messed up because of the time change then, that it really drives home for me how important it is when we're talking about dealing with somebody with autism who might have sensory issues. And sometimes we're not as able to take their perspective as we would like to be able to about when they get upset or things get off kilter for them, how upsetting things can be for them. But if you think about the difference that normally the light changes for us by a little less than a minute every single day, right? Every single day it shifts by about a minute. I don't know the exact science on that, but it's a little under a minute, I think. And then twice a year, we change it by an hour, and it throws us all off for days. Like, everything seems weird, and you're like, I don't understand. You can't find your keys suddenly because the light is different. And if changing it by 59 more minutes can throw us off, but a minute doesn't, then stop and think about what it's like for our kids when things get thrown off for them. We can appreciate a little bit more about why it's hard for them to concentrate on something when we move the furniture, when a kid gets sent to another classroom to take a test, why it might be so different for them, right? I always like to remind myself at these times, this is why we move so slowly when we change things, because the difference that 59 minutes makes for us, think about that in terms of our individuals who have sensory issues on the autism spectrum. All right, having said that, we forge on ahead with life, right? Because the time change happens and we still have things we have to do, places to go, people to see, and certainly people to talk to. I'm so excited about today because we have a couple of guests that are going to be on. They're going to talk about exciting things, but one in particular, just probably one of the coolest guys in all of autism, is going to be with us a little bit later on. If you're at all a little bit of a science geek and want to know information about how technology can help our kids, you have come to the right place this week, because that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about all week long. All right, before I get ahead of myself, this entire show is meant to be interactive. We appreciate it when you guys write in and talk to us and tell us what's on your mind, what's on your heart, what's dragging you down, what's lifting you up, right? So I want to have Emily cycle through some of the different ways that you can get in touch with us. I'll remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, there's a lot to do, and I encourage you to click on the blog to take a look at the blog, but also that's where you can watch the show live. It's not the only place to watch us live, let's be honest, but it's a great place to watch us live. Click on the little triangle that's on the computer screen, and you can also interact with us. And by the way, you can watch either the live show or the most recently recorded live show there, right? We're not live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But regardless of whether we're live or not, that interactive box, that long, skinny white box next to the computer screen, that is active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Put your cursor there, type away, hit enter, and it will show up here on the screen so that I can talk about it with you or with our experts on our next live show. do make sure that if what you're watching isn't live, that you're referencing what it is you want to know about. Don't just use pronouns like, well, he said this or she said this, because I'm not sure which he and which she you were talking about, right? So be as specific as possible. By the way, while we're talking about that, it's completely anonymous. You don't have to log in there. Nobody is looking for even your name, let alone your credit card number, right? It's totally free, totally anonymous. The good thing about that is you can ask whatever you want with no fear of people saying, why did you ask that? No family member saying, I wish you wouldn't put our business on the streets, right? But I don't know who you are. So if you want information that I need to get back to you, you need to include that in your communique, and I won't share that with the audience, all right? So be as specific as possible, and if you want us to get back in touch with you specifically, tell us who you are and how to reach you. I love it when I call people up and they go, are you really calling me? Yeah, of course I'm really calling you. You asked me to call you, so sometimes it takes me a while to get you called back, but eventually I catch up with you. So we hope that you will participate. I also like to remind you at the start of the show that while we bring a lot of experts on the show, I am not one of them. Please do not ever get confused about that. I am a parent and a former teacher. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and I can smile about that now. Believe me, it wasn't a like, woohoo, that day. But he is now 10.5, and he had the benefit of the very best of early intervention, and he is doing remarkably, and that's one of the reasons why I constantly talk to you guys about the benefits of getting that early intensive behavioral intervention. We know that that's the gold standard. The Surgeon General told us that a long time ago, but we are still having problems making sure that everybody gets access to that. And of course, this year, as you know, the soapbox that I'm on is it's not just ABA, right? It's got to be quality ABA, and it's got to be in the right amount. And we've gotten some questions over the weekend about exactly that, and we are going to talk about that today. But we like to start out the morning, every morning, with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out just exactly what are the experts talking about. Because whether you're a parent, teacher, practitioner, or you yourself are on the autism spectrum, no matter where you came into the autism community, we know that the jargon can be intensive, right? And we need to all understand it so that we can get the most done. That's what it's all about. We want to make progress, right? So today's term is assistive technology. Now, you probably have heard this term before, and you might have a basic understanding of what it is, but I think it's worthwhile to look at what an actual definition is. And we pulled this today directly from Wikipedia. And I think of Wikipedia as being, middle of the road, right? They don't get too jargon intensive, but and this isn't a bad definition. It's an umbrella term that includes assistive, adaptive, and rehabilitative devices for people with disabilities, and also includes the process used in selecting, locating, and using them. AT promotes greater independence by enabling people to perform tasks that they were formerly unable to accomplish or had great difficulty accomplishing by providing enhancements to or changing methods of interacting with the technology needed to accomplish such tasks. All right, it's a little lengthy. We understand the words in it, but what does it boil down to when we're talking about our kids on the autism spectrum? So our working definition today is devices that help someone to communicate, achieve goals, and live a productive life. So if you think about what do our kids on the autism spectrum need, and they're all different, so they all need something different. Voila, right? Makes sense. Some of our kids need help in facilitating communication. Now, that can be something on a device. We know that we're going to be talking about apps this week. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about the apps we're going to be talking about. There are many, many, many different apps that an individual can use on some sort of tablet device, and they function in different ways, and different people like different functionality, and different people need different support, right? We're not just talking about typing in and taking the time to type in and then having it voice speak for you, right? Now they have menus of different things so that you can push a picture. So maybe you only have to push 3 things and it says, I want salad. And of course, so many people for so long were using a PECS kind of communication like that, that's, juiced up on technology, and they've gotten better and better at it. I remember the mom, the specific story of the mom who said, I'm so frustrated because the time that it takes for my adult son to be able to tell me what toppings he wants to be able to have on his baked potato, he gets too frustrated and he gives up. And now we have technology that's just getting better and better and helping those members of our community who can't communicate at all vocally to be able to do that with assistive technology. But that's not the only thing. I just don't want us to think going into this week that it's just for communication. Because a lot of our kids, more and more of our kids on the autism spectrum, have the ability to communicate vocally. Maybe they need some support to be as clear as possible with that. Maybe they need help with their executive functioning skills, to be reminded of how to do something to achieve a goal. Right? It's a whole open field. So I love this. We're going to be talking with somebody a little bit later on, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But this idea about anything that you want to do now, there's this expression, there's an app for that. I'd really like to do that. Well, there's an app for that. I don't think that there is an app for everything, but we're getting closer and closer, and some great minds are working on things for autism. And we're going to be talking with one of them in this hour, in fact. Okay, so there's assistive technology, and don't have a closed mind about this, right? We all use technology in a way to assist us now. We do. I mean, my great-grandmother didn't. There was nothing technology-wise that she used to help her through her day, that she just didn't. I mean, she was using a wringer, to do the laundry, but now you and I have things that we can do to help us with our lives. So we can stay more on task. And for any individual who's on the autism spectrum, there are those things as well too. And people who are having a mind to creating more things that will help them. And we have the person who's in charge of that this hour. I know I just keep teasing you with it, but you'll hear in just a second. Okay, so that's our jargon for the day, assistive technology. And let's be thinking of ways that we can use this creatively, right? Okay, we always have a question of the day. Our question for you today, we're being positively assumptive today. We want to know how has technology helped you on your autism journey? And so it may be something that you're using to help to teach a child. It may be something that you're using because you're on the spectrum that's helping you to achieve more in your life. But we want to know what has made a difference for you technology-wise. I always talk about skills. Skills has been transformative in my household. And I would love to say, because the thing it was created for was a curriculum for teaching our kids, and I certainly use it for that. But honestly, for me, it was more transformative in helping me to be empowered at my IEP. And I know people have different ways that they're using it, but that's the thing that I just get all a Twitter about that. So we want to know, how has it helped you? I can now go to an IEP meeting and feel like I know what I'm talking about and that I'm doing what's specifically right for my child. That, ladies and gentlemen, can you hear the angels sing? I can. But we want to know what's been helping you? What's been making your day easier? What's helping you to get it done? What's helping you to see that progress? Okay, we always have a topic of the week, and I usually give it away much before we get to this slide. This entire month we're talking about innovations in autism, and so this week we're focusing on technology. It's a very exciting field. I get all excited about it because it's very reinforcing, both I think to us and to our kids. And I'm going to go so far as to say, and it's going to sound a little sexist, but I think, a lot of times couples talk about how there's a project manager for autism, right? And usually not always, it's the mom. The women, we like dig in and we're like, what papers do I have to fill out? What diet do I have to go on? Which doctor do I have to talk to? Which line do I have to stand in? I got to do something, right? And a lot of times the men, Not always, but the men will feel a little bit removed in the beginning of the process, right? It takes them a little bit longer to get into it. And I see technology as a way that we get the men excited earlier. And I see technology as a way that we get the kids excited earlier. When you put that device in a child's hands where they can see something and they can push something and they can make something happen, it's exciting. You see them light up, they get excited about it. And I think it is the direction that we're going in, and it's the direction we should be going in. My child understands technology so much more than I do. And that's a wonderful thing. I have to ask him to help me to program my smartphone because my smartphone is smarter than I am. But it's not smarter than my son is. And we see more and more that as the kids are getting these devices earlier, they're like fish in water, man. They just love it. So this is a very exciting topic for me. I get all juiced up about it because I think it's really one of those missing puzzle pieces that technology had to get to this point in order to help us to get to that progress that we need to see. So some of the things that we're going to be doing today, we have got some amazing, amazing guests with us. Danielle Kelly from Autism Innovations is going to be with us in the next hour. We are going to be talking about autism and technology, and I've been, hinting all morning long, but Dr. Dan Smith is going to be with us, and he's joining us fresh from a conference that Autism Speaks had. In fact, we talked about it last Wednesday during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. It was an Autism Investment Conference, and at that conference they had something called a PitchJam. Now, I don't know if you love Shark Tank, but I love Shark Tank, and this was basically Shark Tank for autism apps. Oh my gosh, how exciting is that? And so he has just returned from going to that conference. We can't wait to talk to him, Dr. Dan Smith, about what's happening in the field of autism with technology. He's got the most recent information and is going to tell us how that PitchJam went. By the way, you can watch the entire PitchJam on Autism Speaks. If you go there and look for Autism Innovation, you can Google Dr. Dan Smith, it'll come up. Really, really amazing and so exciting. And we'll talk to you about who won and who the other contestants were. In fact, one of the other contestants is somebody that we've had on the show talking about their app. So really remarkable. Thrilled to have Dr. Dan Smith with us. And that will be a little bit later on in this hour. A couple of programming notes that I want you guys to know that in this week we have some really, truly amazing things going on. It's just, I get so overwhelmed with how exciting this week is going to be. Of course, tomorrow we're going to have Dr. Doreen Grampachet with us, and she is answering your questions that first hour, and we may have a guest during that hour with her. I don't have confirmation on it, so I don't want to give it away, but it's huge. In any case, she will be answering your questions during that first hour tomorrow. Then, during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, my very good friend Nancy Alsbaugh-Jackson from Autism Care and Treatment Today is going to be with us. We'll tackle in the news, and we have a wonderful, fabulous guest. Susan Campbell-Cross is going to be with us. She's a lifestyle expert, and she's going to be telling us how we can be using technology to eat better for a lower cost. So, in all these things that we're doing, we don't want to leave out some of the real life skills. So Susan's going to be with us tomorrow talking about that. And then on Thursday, big show, lots of guests. We're going to be talking with someone who is using something called MIT Scratch. We were hoping to have her here today on the show, but we're changing that to Thursday. MIT Scratch, really interesting. If you've got a child who's really into computers and wants to begin to learn coding, we're going to be talking about how we do this with our kids on the autism spectrum. My son just started this, and it is amazing. He is thrilled with it, and we can start with kids very young, working and helping them to code. It's like opening up a whole new world for them. Absolutely amazing, called MIT Scratch. We also have a guest on Thursday who's going to be here talking about building cooler robots and how we do that with kids and get them excited about that aspect. My son is going to want to leave school to watch the show on Thursday, I'm telling you. We'll also have Dr. Nadowski with us on that day, and perhaps a couple of more experts were winding. We had so many people who wanted to participate this week talking about technology, so we're figuring that all out, squeezing them, as many of them in as we can. And then on Friday, my friends, on Friday we're doing a very special hour. We're not normally on during Friday, but we're doing a very special hour on Friday from 11 to 12 Pacific time. Please do the math for where you are. Ms. Holly Robinson-Peete is going to be with us for that entire hour. We're going to be talking about what it's like being the mom of a teenager, what's new with her charity, the Holly Rod Foundation, and how she is pairing with technology to be able to help more and more people as well. And the technology that she's pairing with, the Nabi folks, and if you haven't looked into Nabi, I really want to encourage you to do that. Really amazing tablet that is specifically designed for kids at different developmental ages. So they have one that's for teenagers, they have one for very young kids, and they have one for kids that are a little bit older. They are extremely cost effective, they are extremely safe, and really designed just for our kids' specific use at those times developmentally. And they have an initiative to help kids with autism, and many apps that they're a part of developing as well. Truly remarkable. And we're going to be giving away two of those Nabi tablets during that special hour with Holly Robinson-Peete. So you're not going to want to miss that. That's on Friday from 11 to 12 Pacific time. Please do the math for where you are in the world, and we'll have more information about how you actually win the tablets coming up. But not today. So stay tuned to the show this week to see. But that's our week. It's really blockbuster, and more things in the works that I can't tell you yet. So that's what I can tell you. All right. So all of this and ever so much more. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to delve into some of the questions that you guys wrote in over the weekend. So stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. This month we're gonna make some gluten-free Play-Doh. It's a great activity because A, I know a lot of our kids have an allergy to gluten, and B, it's super cheap and cost effective to make your own. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are 1 cup of white rice flour, half a cup of cornstarch, half a cup of salt, 1 tablespoon of cream of tartar, 1.5 teaspoons of vegetable oil, 1 cup of water, food coloring, a saucepan, and a spatula. So as you guys can see, I'm in my kitchen because I'm going to be using the stovetop to make the Play-Doh. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pot and fill it up with all the dry ingredients, okay? Now that I have my dry ingredients in the saucepan, I'm now going to add the wet ones, the vegetable oil and the water. I'm going to turn the pan onto low heat and continue stirring. What I want to make sure happens is that it gets solidified and gooky looking, you'll see in a second, but not overcooked, okay? You're just trying to get the materials to kind of congeal. You know the dough is ready. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna just take it off the stovetop and let it cool. Once it's cool, then you're gonna add your coloring, and boom, you've got gluten-free Play-Doh. Well, I hope you enjoyed the Play-Doh with your kids. Until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. I wanted to take just a minute here at the start of the show and deal with some of the questions. We never want to get too far away from the questions that you guys write. I do hoard some of them to save for specific experts that we have, but we like to make sure that you guys know that we're looking at your questions and reading them. So somebody wrote in and said, just found Autism Live. I had no idea this even existed. Well, I'm so glad that you found us. And I do want to tell you that there are still a lot of people out there that don't know that we exist, even though we're here and we've been here now for more than a year and a half. But we ask your help in letting other people know that we're here. If you're watching this show and if you like what you see and you like the opportunity to be able to ask experts questions and real time or close to real time, please share us. We're on Facebook. Make sure you like us so that you can get updates on things that are going on. There's a place on our Facebook page where you can sign up for our free newsletter. It comes out once a month. We really don't try to bug people with too much information because we're here for information, right? But we like to update you guys sometimes about contests that we're having on the newsletter and things that are in the works, things that you can look forward to. So, but share us on your social media. We are, I always say, refer to us as the little show that could. And we're trying to reach as many people as we possibly can, but we don't have a huge budget to go and spend on marketing. We just don't. And nor are we ever going to, right? It just isn't something that we're doing. We hope that you will share us. We count on you to do that. So if you found us and you like us, please make it a plan to share with at least 5 people that you know that need some help and support, and or could just stand to feel like they're not in this alone. I can't even tell you, so many times in the early days of autism, it was sort of like the tape that would run through my head. I would just say, I just feel so alone. I just feel so alone in this. And now I know I was never alone. But part of what I want to do with the rest of my time on this planet is to make sure that you know that you're not alone. So welcome other people to the party, and let's all be in this together. As I like to say, si se puede, we can do this. We can absolutely do this together, but we have to stick together on this, right? Okay. Another great thing that somebody wrote in, hi, are there any funding or help to pay for skills? Thank you. Yes, and I'm so glad you asked that. There is funding and there is help to pay for skills. I talk about skills all the time here on the show, and it is a subscription service. It's not free, although you can get a 14-day free trial, and there are 2 different types of free trials that you can get. It's like I'm just borrowing this mouth today. Excuse me that I can't talk today. But okay, so there's the skills free trial, and in order to get that, you do have to put your credit card information, and for the first 14 days, it's totally free. If you cancel within that 14 days, you're charged nothing. But if you don't, by the 15th day, the system assumes that you're enjoying using it, and it starts charging you for a month. So if you call on the 16th day and say, I want to cancel it, you paid for a month, right? Like most things on the internet, right? It's just automated. It just does that. But if you, and believe me, I'm somebody who's very skittish about signing up for something until I know what it is, because I have a memory that is completely gone. completely gone. So if you're like me and you're a little bit more cautious about signing up for things like that, there's something called Skills Lite that you can sign up for, that there's no credit card attached to it at all. You just sign up and you do have to give them your name, and they give you a password, and you go in and you don't have access to all of Skills, right? But you couldn't in 14 days go through all of Skills anyway. But you can get access to a lot of it to see what's there, to say, hey, do I want to make this decision? And after 14 days, then you can decide to sign up for it or not. And it is a monthly fee. And it's a fairly inexpensive monthly fee, but if you are dealing with a child on the autism spectrum and you didn't financially plan for it, because I'm sorry, who did, then it may still be something that is overwhelming or outside your budget. I completely understand that, and so do a lot of other people. So one of the best ways to get funding for skills is to get a grant from Autism Care and Treatment Today. I mentioned Nancy Alsbaugh-Jackson, who co-hosts that hour with me, Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and she is the executive director of Autism Care and Treatment Today. Emily's giving you their website right now, and they have 4 different times in the year in which they give grants, and I will tell you that they are so interested in helping families. Their whole thing is, we'll help you with the thing that you want. So you get to write and say, here's what I want a grant for. And people have written in and said, we need fencing because our child elopes. People have written in and said, we need a trampoline because that's the only thing that calms our child down. Other people have written in and said, we need help with our medical bills, or we need help with getting the testing done so that we know what medication to put our child on, because we're doing biomedical, or we need testing to see what they're allergic to. There really is, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can ask for, and there is a lengthy process to an application process that you have to go through. They ask a lot of questions because they're not just going to give people money to go to Vegas, right? We can all appreciate that, of course. But I know that one of their favorite things to fund is skills because of the things that people ask for. It's one of the least expensive. So it's very doable for them to fund skills. And they know that it's something that people who have used it write back and say this was life-changing. So they are thrilled to fund skills. And I want to encourage you, if you need help paying for skills, apply for one of those grants. It is not currently a grant season. I think the next grant phase is in April, but that's coming up. So go to act-today.org and find out the papers that you need to have together so that you can be ready to do that. I believe it's in April. Oh, okay. Now, we had several people who write in. We've had a lot of people writing in from Florida recently. In fact, there were 2 people who wrote in on Thursday from Florida who said that they were getting their services through something called PBS. And I'd like if you could write back to us and tell us specifically what PBS stands for, because there's more than one PBS. So I'd love to know exactly where you're getting services from. That's the first thing that I want to say. Now, and I don't know if these are the same people. We had a lot of questions about Florida that came in over the weekend. Somebody said, that, and I'm going to save most of this question for tomorrow for Dr. Granpeche, but I want to start by saying I love your show and we love you too. Feeling very depressed and down with a lack of progress with my son's communication. He doesn't have much spontaneous and varied speech. He will be 4 in 2 months. He attends a school with speech, OT, and play therapy with a psychologist. We will start ABA soon, but only getting 15 months. And I think you mean, I don't know if you mean 15 months or 15 hours. BCBA told us that all Medicaid in Florida will pay unless severe. Since I'm not seeing improvement in my son's current school, should I consider switching to a typical preschool with a shadow? The current school he attends has 7 kids with 3 teachers and OT and speech on alternating days. I was told he's in the middle in terms of being social. I haven't seen improvement in his social skills with peers, and he's been there since August. The other kids in his class are very verbal and have lost their diagnosis, or some parents believe wrongly diagnosed. Okay, so much there that I want to talk about with Dr. Granpeche tomorrow. But some of the other things that people wrote in from Florida, they were talking specifically about 15 hours. So that's why I wonder if we're talking about 15 months or 15 hours. But one person in particular said that their BCBA told them, and this is in Florida again, that they're asking for 15 hours and that she'll come in 2 hours a week for training. Okay, so let's back it up and talk a little bit about I don't know what the Medicaid rules are for 15 months or 15 hours for Florida. And I will make sure that I look into that before tomorrow with Dr. Granpeche. But here's what I want you to know. 15 hours isn't enough. And 15 months may or may not be enough, right? We don't know how long your child's going to need therapy, but we do know, because all of you have written in, all of these different people have written in and said that your children are under the age of 5. We have somebody who's 46 months, we have somebody who's about to turn 4, and there's another one, I believe, that they said was 2. All of those children are under the age of 5, and we know what the prescription is under the age of 5, and it's 30 to 40 hours a week. There's no getting around that, and if in fact, your Medicaid is saying that they'll only pay for 15 hours and that they'll pay for it for 15 months. Again, the 15 months, let's worry about that a little bit later on. If they're going to fund you right now, great. We can worry about what happens in 15 months, and the laws might be entirely different in 15 months, right? Let's worry about today's problems, because we all need to get started on this intensive ABA at 30 to 40 hours a week. Okay. It's very possible that the person who's talking to you about Medicaid doesn't have the most recent information because the laws just changed on January 1st. So we're not going to take their word for it, right? We're going to do a little bit of research. Usually your ABA provider, though, is the best possible resource on what's happening. So, you know, I would still research it a little bit, and I will still research it a little bit. But if the BCBA is saying they're not going to pay for more than 15 hours, then that's exactly what you need to hear, is that that's all they're going to pay for. And then it's on you to figure out, how are we going to stretch that into 30 to 40 hours. Skills, by the way, is a great way to do that. If the BCBA is going to be there and do 15 hours a week and you say, all right, I'm going to put together a program that's at least 15 hours more, and we're going to make it at least 30 hours. Maybe we're going to make it 40 hours. But don't accept a half-baked prescription. I know that BCBAs, good BCBAs know this. A lot of them are squeamish about making a parent feel bad. There is this thing in the world where people say, well, I really don't want to tell them it's not going to be enough, because then they're going to feel discouraged. And if you're already feeling depressed, then who wants to tell you, oh, we're going to give you 15 hours, but by the way, it's not going to be enough. I am part of a contingent that says you need to be honest with all of us, just like you would in any other doctor's office. If it's going to take us 30 to 40 hours a week, then you need to tell us that so that we can make a plan. I know too many parents that were told, okay, so you can get funding for 15 hours, and they did that for 2 years, only to find out 2 years later, oh, by the way, that wasn't enough, and we could have told you, but we didn't want to make you feel bad. No, that is not good for any of us. So I'll be the truth police here and say to you, it's going to be hard if they're only going to pay for 15 hours, but it's not going to be impossible. It's not going to be impossible at all. It's going to mean a big time commitment for you, but when you see the improvement that your child's going to make, it's going to be worthwhile, right? All of our kids make a different amount of progress, but progress is available for all of our kids if we give them the right prescription. Imagine if you went to your doctor today and he said, oh, by the way, your child has strep throat, and here, I'm going to write you a prescription for half of what the pills are that are going to make this better, for your child to make progress. Because I know you can't afford to pay for the whole amount of the pill. So here, take half of it, and then when you're back here in 2 weeks because you're still having problems and we haven't taken care of the problem, and then you're going to say, oh, the prescription didn't work, but he didn't give you the full prescription, right? Same thing with ABA. We got to have quality ABA, and we got to have it in the right amount, 30 to 40 hours a week. So if the BCBA is saying, look, that's all we can pay for, then that's all we can pay for. Now, you also talk about training too. If the person is going to be there, I'm not sure that I'm understanding. So is the BCBA is going to come for 2 hours a week and train the person for 2 hours a week in your home? Is that what's happening? The BCBA is there for 2 hours. The rest of the 13 hours, you have somebody who is not being trained by the BCBA. And is that person the only training they're getting is in your home? Or is the BCBA training them 2 hours in that person's home on Monday, and then 2 hours on your house on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday they're at somebody else's? So they're getting 2 hours a day. How much training did they have before? I don't know, right? And I think those are questions that I would want answered. If you're having trouble and you feel like you're not getting enough training, or the people working with your children are not getting enough training, of course, I recommend IBT. That's the Institute for Behavioral Training. You can buy short videos that are great training for you or your practitioners. If you feel like they're not getting enough training, gift them to them. You can buy them in different increments of 6 months. So let's say you have 3 people working on your child's case that you want to get trained. You can buy it and have all 3 of them watching the same video. They're as low as $7.50, some of them. It's worthwhile. You can train yourself, and then you can train them, or you can give them the video to train, and you buy it for a period of time to be able to give to people. So don't feel like what they're handing you is it and there's nothing else. You really can step up and say, if this is all you can give me, and I don't feel like it's enough, this is how I'm going to solve this problem with very low cost technology, tools. This is all exists on the internet. It's very easy. All you have to have is a computer that's hooked up to internet, and you can be able to access ibehavioraltraining.com, and you can go to skillsforautism.com to get skills. And be able to fill that out so that you get a 30 to 40 hour a week program. And by the way, you will get great at what you're doing, and you will be able to share that knowledge with other people down the road, and it will translate into progress. It absolutely will. But get the right prescription. And I will talk about the rest of this question about school placement with Dr. Grampiche and get her thoughts on the training and all of the rest of it. All right, we are going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more Autism Live after these messages.
Hi, welcome to Camp Discovery, a free-to-play suite of fun, interactive learning games for kids 2 and up. Designed by experts in autism, Camp Discovery will open your early learner to a world of new skills, shapes, numbers, colors, locations, emotions, and more. Let's get started.
Please choose a level.
Objects. First, Camp Discovery's Intelligent Preference Assessment determines your child's preferred reward for choosing correctly. Okay, got it. Let's play. Camp Discovery creates a motivating learning environment for your child by minimizing incorrect responses and maximizing successful ones.
Find the shoes.
Respond correctly and your child is rewarded with their favorite animations.
You did it.
Respond incorrectly and our unique prompting system guides your child to the correct answer by making it the largest choice.
That's not it. Try again. Way to go.
Continue to answer correctly and the size gradually reduces until the child makes the correct choice independently.
You win.
Success! Rewards motivate learning. Complete a round and your child is rewarded with a fun mini-game. Track your child's progress with easy-to-read graphs. Multiple settings options allow you to customize Camp Discovery to your child's unique needs. All this in one single app, the Camp Discovery app, available for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon Store.
Welcome back to Autism Live. You know, we ask you a question every day, and when we get an opportunity, we go to our Facebook to see the kind of things that you guys have written in. Today, we asked you, how has technology helped you on your autism journey? Some of the different things that we had people write in, somebody said, well, for one thing, the internet has been an immense, all in caps, help in my research. If it wasn't for the information I found online, I would probably just be listening to doctors tell me it's a phase, it's ADHD, it's allergies, etc. And I would never have found out about how much a simple change in diet, and she says we follow the Fine Goal plan, can help so much. All in caps on the so much. So it's great. I mean, you know, I do think the internet is an immense help. It has changed so much over the years. I know that when my son was diagnosed with autism, 8 years ago now, I went to the internet and it was sort of hit and miss. I had a hard time sorting through what I liked, what I didn't. And now, 8 years later, there's just so much more. So it is a bit of a waiting. You have to wade in and fish through and see what works for you, what doesn't. But at least it's there. In the beginning, I was going to the library and it was so much more limited than the internet was. So I agree. I think the internet is a huge, huge help. Another person who writes in and says, Proloquo to go on the iPad has given my son a voice. Really, absolutely amazing. And another person who seconds that, she says, I second P2Go and the iPad giving my son a voice. Also, the internet and social media have connected me with my parent support network. I have to say, too, the ability for parents to be able to talk to other parents, whether in this format or any of the things that are available online, is so, so key. I'm always telling you guys, have a support group that's local, have a support group that's more global. The things that you will find out from other parents, it's mind-blowing. And the great thing, of course, when parents share information, we don't send an invoice. Right? You can't underestimate how important that is. It's an absolutely great thing. It's one of the things when we talked about starting this show, I said this show has to be free for the people who watch. This show has to be free. We have to be able to have a free way of sharing information. Another person, it says that it's helped their son to self-educate in subjects of interest. I love that because we can't in any way diminish that as a reality of a way for our kids to get in tune with what's happening. When I got to meet Temple Grandin for the first time and she asked me about my son, I still have the piece of paper where she wrote down all of these different things, college classes that he can be taking at the age of 10, right, to learn different things and audit them and all the possibilities that there are. My son is learning so many things online that are really, really exciting to him. So we just can't discount that. Another person who says, my daughter's tablet allows her to socialize with other children her age with my supervision, and it helps with her obsessions. What a fabulous, fabulous thing. And somebody else who says, thank God for iPads, it makes learning fun. I absolutely agree, but I got to tell you that the market has expanded greatly. There are many more tablets besides iPads now. I know it probably sounds like heresy, but you know, there is so there are so many different things, and for a lot of people, iPads are expensive. We talk on the show about how you can access programs that will donate iPads to individuals who need them, but I want you to know that there are other tablets as well, and on Friday we're going to be giving away 2 Nabi tablets during our segment with Holly Robinson Pete. So and wait till you see, these Nabis are incredible, and you can find them online as well. You probably have seen the commercials. They are the cutest things and safe for our kids and really remarkable. And another person who says that they taught my daughter a lot. Really, really incredible. Okay, so we have a guest that's coming up who is amazing. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with, I think, the coolest guy in autism right now. Dr. Dan Smith is going to be with us, and he is the president of DELSIA. I hope I'm saying that right. It's Delivering Scientific Innovation for Autism. Oh my goodness, how exciting is that? So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Dr. Dan Smith. Remember that you can be writing questions in on the live feature. Stick with us.
If you're watching Autism Live, chances are you care about the life of someone, or perhaps many people, living with autism. You spend countless hours trying to make a better life for them. It may not have been easy for you to watch the show today. You know, sometimes you could be juggling so many balls in the air, you feel like a circus performer. I remember recently saying to a friend that as the mother of a son with autism, plus all the other challenges in my life, I feel like I'm carrying a tray full of glasses of water, and that if one of them topples over, the whole thing is going to go crashing down. This empowerment moment is all about you. Now, I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but over the last 9 years in my autism journey, I've learned some things that have helped me shift from being a victim to having hope. See, I'd been in that place, down on the kitchen floor, on my knees, praying for answers of what happened to my child. I'd been in that place, covered with blood and tears, after one of Wyatt's giant tantrums, where I said, "Where has my fairy tale life gone?" I have a feeling you're a member of that kitchen floor club too. It's been a process, but I've come from that place of being a victim to becoming an advocate for my son Wyatt, and for many others as the executive director of ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today. Let's start with reframing the way you think about yourself and your child. I want you to say after me, "I'm an activist." That's right. I'm an activist, because just by watching this program, you are taking positive steps to make the world a better place for your child or someone else living with autism. You are a positive force of action in the world. I want you to start thinking of your so-called disability as an opportunity, because it's within our challenges that our greatness is revealed. That's where we find our courage and resiliency. And parenting a child with autism is one of the greatest challenges a parent can face. You have the choice to see this as a journey of self-discovery. Some people take expeditions to climb Mount Everest to see what they're made of. You don't have to travel that far, because parenting a child with autism is an expedition of the soul. Until next time, stay strong and keep the faith.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm so excited because, as I mentioned before, we have with us, joining us via Skype, I think the coolest guy in all of autism. Dr. Dan Smith is joining us. Welcome, Dr. Smith.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And if you're wondering why I think he's the coolest guy in all of autism, he has 2 different positions. One with Autism Speak, he is the Senior Director of Discovery Research. How much do we love that title? And you are also, though, Dr. Smith, the President of DELSIA. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And tell our viewers what DELSIA stands for and what it is.
DELSIA stands for Delivering Scientific Innovation for Autism. It's a mouthful, so we use DELSIA. We created DELSIA as another way to fund activities for the autism community. So DELSIA exists to partner with for-profit entities, so companies, as opposed to with Autism Speaks in the science department and family services, we fund academic institutions or other nonprofits to build research and products. So DELSIA exists to partner with companies that are making products or bringing services to the marketplace.
And you just got back from a really important conference, really innovative, an Autism Investment Conference. Tell us just briefly what that was.
Well, it was the awesome Autism Investment Conference. It was a lot of fun, and we got a lot of good feedback. The purpose of the Autism Investment Conference, the bottom line is to really connect people with ideas with people with money. So we're trying to bring entrepreneurs, small companies, even big companies that are looking to develop products for the autism community together with people from the venture capital world or other business development sectors in different companies, trying to unite them to bring the funding necessary to entrepreneurs that are making products that we think could be transformative for our community and individuals with autism and their families.
Well, and just one of the things that you did at the conference was have something called the PitchJam. Now, a little bit earlier, I described this as Shark Tank for autism apps. Am I correct?
You're correct. It's a little more fun and less cutthroat, but that's how we describe it as well.
Okay, so what happened at the PitchJam?
So the PitchJam was 5 small companies get to stand in front of a panel of 5 experts. So 5 experts that are developing technology for the autism community and can evaluate these products on a pretty deep level. So these 5 companies that got to present to these judges had 4 minutes to tell us what their product was, where they aim to go with it, and how innovative are they, and what's the community impact. And then they had about a minute or so for a Q&A where we took 1 or 2 questions from the audience and a bunch of questions from the judging panel.
And viewers can watch this. You've got the videotape up on Autism Speaks. If people go to autismspeaks.org and in the search, I would imagine put in PitchJam, correct?
You can put in PitchJam, you can search for Autism Investment Conference, or just investment will pull it up as well.
Okay, so we want to encourage people to go and look at that because it's really amazing. And we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to ask Dr. Smith about who won and why they won, and some more questions about PitchJam, things that you guys want to know, so stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so thrilled and so fortunate that we have with us, as I've said, I think the coolest guy in all of autism because he's dealing with the coolest stuff. Dr. Dan Smith from Autism Speaks is here with us. He's the Senior Director of Discovery Research. I'm sorry, that's just the coolest title ever. And I'm impressed. And he's also the president of DELSIA. We were just talking with him about DELSIA. It's delivering scientific innovation for autism. Cue the angels singing. And he has just come back to us from a really amazing Autism Investment Conference, and we were talking a little bit about this PitchJam. So you were saying, Dr. Smith, that these companies had 4 minutes to get up and pitch these ideas. And what was the criteria that you were looking at these different innovations?
Well, we really wanted to evaluate the potential for community impact. So do we really think that this is an idea that can transform lives, healthcare, quality of life for families or individuals with autism? How innovative is it? And what's the quality of the pitch? Do these guys really, can they put it together? Do they have it in their heads well enough to be able to sell this and really take it all the way? How sharp are they? How much business acumen do they have? That's really, those are 3 sort of main areas where we really picked them apart, with community impact being critical.
Well, we love the idea of that. So let's talk a little bit first about the winner. And they won $10,000, correct?
Yes, they did. It's a huge prize.
So that also makes you the coolest guy in autism too, because you were able to give a check, which is awesome. So Cognitopia won, and tell us what it was that they pitched that you thought, well, the panel thought was so innovative that they would win that $10,000 prize.
So the CEO, Tom Keating of Cognitopia Software, made the pitch. This is an app it's new. They have a history of developing successful apps. And their mission is focused on autism. This app was called ScanDo, SCANDO. You'll get why in a second. The app essentially allows visually oriented individuals with cognitive challenges to scan a barcode on a product or a QR code. And he used the example, for example, of like a microwave dinner, and receive instructions, video instructions, for how to use that, how to make that. And you can, that microwave dinner is just one example. You can imagine if you go to a hardware store, if you go to any type of store, ultimately, how useful could this product be? It's very clear that we felt this could make a lot of people's lives, their quality of life, a lot greater.
It really is an amazing idea to be able to do that. My question is, does the company have to upload the instructions, or is someone for Cognitopia going through and doing all the instructions for all those products?
They are responsible for developing that, and I think they can tap into other product resources. With these barcodes and QR codes, there are resources out there from manufacturers and wholesalers and other selling points where they may be able to tap into to get that kind of information and load it into there and connect to their app.
It's really remarkable, and when you think about it, its impact will be so helpful for the autism community, but for so many other people.
Yes.
I know I have gotten a product and been stymied before about, and what exactly do I do with this now?
Oh, me too.
So really incredible. Now, I see on the list of people that also were able to pitch at the PitchJam that Lois Brady and Matthew Gugamos, who we've had on the show before, were there for eye therapy, which with their new app, Inner Voice, which is what we had them talking about, a really remarkable app. And I'm sure that they did a spectacular job when they were there as well.
They really did, and you're familiar with eye therapy, and they have an Inner Voice, and it's really been a great product. They've won so many awards. They've won a lot of hackathons or app pitch jams, kind of like this one. And what I love about these two is they're experienced speech and language pathologists. They have a great and direct connection to our community and individuals that need the type of service and products that they're making. So they're making an augmentative and alternative communication app. It's called Inner Voice, and they pitched the potential to transmit this and offer it on different platforms. Right now it's on iOS. Bringing it to Android could potentially increase the user base significantly or increase access. A lot of individuals might not be able to afford Apple products. Bringing it to a less expensive and more ubiquitous platform could be a significant advantage for a lot of people. It just increases access, and that was the gist of their pitch, and they did a great job.
Really remarkable. And I'm not going to give away the other ones because I want people to go to your site and watch these videos, and because it's really very exciting. But I do want to ask, is there a plan to do this every year now?
There is, at least once a year. So next year is going to be in Boston. We survey the folks at the conference for their impact or their feedback on all sorts of areas, one of which is where to do this next. So the first one was in New York last year. We went to the West Coast of San Francisco, another tech base this year. And next year, we're coming back to the East Coast to my favorite tech base and what I think is the best tech base, and not because I live here, but Boston.
There we go. Well, maybe Autism Live will have to come next time, because I just think this sounds so exciting to be, and smart. This is so smart of you that you're putting together the people with the ideas and the people with the money.
Well, thank
You get to win. You are the coolest guy in autism. And can anybody participate in the Pitch Jam? What's the process they have to go through to apply to be one of the people to pitch?
We really looked for some diversity, so we wanted to do different types of apps. So Cognitopia's product versus iTherapy's product, two different sectors completely. Yeah. We wanted some diversity in there. We wanted to understand a little bit about the product beforehand and the individuals. So we knew a little coming in and set it up so we could present, and illustrate a little bit of diversity in the product space. But any company could give me a call. Go to DELSIA.org, DELSIA.org. Send me a message through Contact Us or contact me through Autism Speaks. I'm happy to talk with anyone working in this area and try to help them, and they're welcome to come and present and join us. And if you guys want a live blog or whatever from the investment conference next year, that would be fantastic.
Well, that sounds very exciting to us. And I will definitely have to look into that, because we love Boston here. I love this idea. I think it's really remarkable. And I thank you so much, because I know you just barely got back. And I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us about this really exciting project. And we hope that you continue to do this, because this is life-changing for our kids.
We hope so. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you guys. Love your show, and it's really nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. It's a thrill to meet you. And anytime you want to come back to talk about anything, open door policy for you, Dr. Smith.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We are going to take a short break and go now to the A Word. This is the ongoing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy, Jack Riley, as he begins and goes through his early intensive behavioral intervention. Take a look. This is the A Word.
I'm starting to think he's smarter than me.
During clinic, everyone on Jack Riley's team meet at CARD headquarters. Here, parents, supervisors, and therapists go over any questions, concerns, and new skills to be taught.
I think we have. Look how cozy he is with you guys now.
He's
He's gonna lean on her knee.
He's leaning on you. We were having him give us fire truck, and then having him say it afterwards, but now we're realizing he knows a lot, so now we can just hold up the picture and say,
What is it?
Jessica is determining what items Jack Riley knows the labels for. Items he does not know are separated to be taught to him during a later therapy session.
What is this? Papa.
Is that right?
Papa. Oh, that's right.
Oh, you gotta call your dad.
Yo!
What is this? Oh, he doesn't know that one. What is it? Table.
I didn't get to let him go on that
one. Oh my goodness. That's good. Woo!
That was good.
That was awesome.
Okay, last one, okay? And then you can play. What is it?
You're just making stuff up now.
Yay!
You did such a good job. That table came out perfect.
That was.
I couldn't find a good table that looked like something
Papa,
he would
is this
know,
Papa?
so I was pretty surprised.
That-
That's Papa.
Oh, he said Papa too.
That's
He did that was awesome.
He said you sang all. There's a couple pictures in here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got it.
Absolutely.
Papa's gonna be happy.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, of course, we're getting big heads thinking he's doing so well, he's getting such a big vocabulary. I know we're not supposed to compare him to other kids, but because you guys work with other kids with autism, what are, and I know this isn't an easy answer, but easiest answer you can come up with.
Okay.
What are his strengths and weaknesses?
I would definitely say one of his biggest strengths is that he's able to learn and he learns very quickly. You know, I mean, he's at a good place right now where he's sort of shooting up everything, you know what I mean? And
Excited.
Yeah, and he's picking things up very quickly. You know, as far as what are his weaknesses, I think it's just the deficits that he has. It's just the delay in the language and the delay, you know what I mean? And it's all that stuff. But given that he is a fast learner, I think all that stuff is just coming out.
He's getting more words, but really they're, for the most part, like other than a table and things like that, they're more approximations. That, or are we just recognizing the consistency more often now?
He's making a connection of words to an item or a person or something.
Right.
We can always work on the articulation.
I see recognition in him. That's
You want hickory dickory dock? Say no. No. Okay. So you can see which one you want. What Legos? You want trains? Trains? Do you want trains? Trains? Say trains. Okay. Here. Let's go play with the trains. We got these. What color is this? Red. Very good. You know your colors. What color is this? Try again. Yellow. Very good. Here we go. There you go. That's what I was waiting for. Sit up and do it though. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it like this. Choo-choo. What's up? Do it this way though. You gotta sit up though and do it. Hey bud. You gotta sit up and do it. You can't lie down or play. You can play still. Do you want to play? Do you want to play? Then you need to play right. Okay? Sit down and play. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jack. You can play still. Uh-oh. That's okay. Here, you have one more. Let's go. Hey, you gotta sit up though. Sit up and then you can play. Okay.
We see Jessica repeatedly redirect Jack Riley to sit up each time he attempts to lay down and play. The reason she does this is that laying down while playing is inappropriate, and if we don't teach appropriate play skills, he won't be able to socialize with other children. This teaches him how to play, and that tantruming or negative behavior won't get him what he wants.
Sit down. Oh, okay. Sit down though. Thanks. Hey, do this. Good job. Do this. Good job. Okay. Do you want Peekaboo Wild? Want Peekaboo Wild or Peekaboo Barn? Which one do you want? Which one do you want? Here, you pick. Which one? The Peekaboo Wild? Uh-oh. Oh, shoot. That's not it. Here. Do this. Good job. Do this. Yay! Good job. All the way though. Stand up. Like this. Yeah. Okay, try again. Ready? Do this. There it is. All right. Okay, let's have it face you. Who's that? That's Jack. Is that you? Yeah, that's you. Who's that? That's me. That's Jessica. Can you do this? Yeah, good job. Can you do this? You do. Yeah, there you go. There's your tongue. I was messing around with him the other day with my forward-facing camera just to see him make funny faces to each other, and he really imitated. So.
But with the camera, not with
the camera, but not face to face. Yeah. Which is interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah. But like face to face, you can do like the gross motor NBI, where I do this and he claps, or I stand up and he'll do the same thing. But facial stuff, no, he won't. That's right.
And there, ladies and gentlemen, you see the power of technology as something that's reinforcing for our kids to get them back on track. So let's talk a little bit about, first, the series, The A Word. This is an ongoing series, and there's over 3 years of videotape watching Jack Riley as he goes through his early intervention. Emily is showing you where you can go to be able to view those, and are there 52, 62? There are so many episodes of 52. Okay, so there are so many different episodes of it that you can watch, and they focus on different things. You can go through and search a keyword and say, I want to see when they potty trained him, or I want to see tantrums. You just saw one, right? Use it as a tool, however it helps you, whether it just helps you to realize, okay, it does get better, or if it helps to motivate you to want to get that quality ABA, or to look at it and go, oh, this is what quality ABA looks at. Because I want to talk a little bit about what happened in that video. So we see, and this, I'll tell you what, when people say to me that they're resistant and they don't want to do ABA, it's this video that I send them to, because a lot of times people say, well, you know, why do we have to force our kids to do this? If they're unhappy, why can't we just let them do what they want to do? And, you know, it can be just a small thing. Like, I know, because I was there as a parent, where he would do something and they would redirect him to do something else, and I'd go, really? Why can't he do that? Why can't we just let him do that? And that example is a perfect example, because all he wants to do is lay down and watch his train cars. Why can't he do that? And you see him cry. It breaks my mother's heart when he does the thing. Oh, gosh, it just squeezes my chest. And I think to myself, really, we can't just let him lay down and watch the cars? And I think I'm not the only parent who feels that way. But here's the deal, is if he lays there on his side and he watches the train cars do that, then he misses out on some other things developmentally, like visually, what it's like to look at the core strength of something to do this. He misses out on the ability to interact. If he's laying down on the floor and he's looking at the cars, he's not having a moment of joint attention with the therapist or another child that he's going to play with next year developmentally. At this age, they're still playing side by side, but next year they're going to start to be able to play things together. So we want to be able to give him the skills that he needs to do that. It's not that he can't ever lay on his side and watch the cars, but we want him to be able to sit up and play with the cars as well. And yeah, it's a big deal to him. He wants to lay on his side and watch the cars. And yes, she's preventing him from doing it, but that's a perfect example. And it's one of the reasons why I say to parents, get a video monitor and put it in the room where they're going to be doing therapy with your child, because you are going to hear from time to time your child cry. I tell you all the time that in quality ABA, your child should be thrilled when they go to the door and the therapist is there. And you can see at other points, there's another place in the video where they show the doorbell ring and Jack Riley is like so thrilled to go to the door because Jessica is going to be there, right? And if your child is not thrilled when the doorbell rings and it's the therapist there, then something's wrong. Maybe it's the wrong therapist, or maybe you're not getting quality ABA. I don't know, but your child needs to be thrilled. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to ever cry. They are, because they're going to be asked to do things in a different way, and you're going to feel that feeling of, why do we have to do this to him? Why do we have to do this? But you get to see in this moment that, you know, he doesn't want to play that way, and so he goes up and he sits in the chair, and you don't get to see the whole thing. He cried for 20 minutes, I'm told. And then eventually, when it started to wind down, she brought him down and she did something that I don't know if they all call it this, but when they were doing it with my son, they called it compliance training, where they get behavioral momentum. So they give them something easy to do so that they get back on track and get the thing, and she shows him the phone. You notice that the tears kind of like stop in that moment. He's like, oh, you have a phone. and she says, so sit down. He says, oh, okay, I'll sit down. And she says, clap your hands, and touch your head. And he says, okay, I'll do that. And she gives him the phone and his tears are gone. The child is not hurt or injured at all, but he's been asked to do something different. It's going to help with his flexibility. It's going to help with his core strength. It's going to help with his play skills. It's going to help with his social skills, because did you notice? And they didn't even point it out in the video. At some point, he was looking at the thing and he turned and he said to her something. I think it was when he said sheet, and she said, yes, it's a sheet. And she smiled at him. He noticed something in the video and looked at her and made eye contact. That is the beginning of a social interaction that is going to help him for his whole life to do so many different things. For all of you out there who are worried about social skills with your preteen or your teen or your 4-year-old or whatever, that's the beginning, that joint attention of saying to somebody else, hey, look, did you see this? And smiling together with them. Really important social skill that's a prerequisite for so many other social skills down the road, which it's really hard to do that if you're laying on the carpet looking at trains that way, right? So, are we going to have that emotional thing of, gosh, we should just let them be who they are and what they do? You're going to feel it. I still have issues with that from time to time, where I go, why can't the rest of the world see it his way and just meet him at least halfway or even a quarter of the way? Why do we have to change his behavior to fit everybody else? But I would remind all of us that we've done this our whole lives. Our children came out of the womb and they didn't know how to walk. We helped them to learn how to walk, and some kids learned it pretty much on their own. Other kids needed help and support to do it. But I can't think of a single instance of anyone I know, even people I know whose children are in wheelchairs, that we just said, oh, not going to happen because it's going to be frustrating for them. So let's just stop it. Let's just stop it right now. Let's just make it so that they're in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives and that they go where they need to go that way, right? I know people whose children don't have the use of their legs, and it's an ongoing thing where they continue to work on the muscles in the hopes that someday with extra technology that individual will be able to walk. We don't give up on these things. And just because our kids, it's not visible, we're still going to feel those things, but we have to make a decision of, are we going to allow them to get uncomfortable to get to the place? You see it right there in the video. In the next few minutes, Jack Riley is there and he's totally happy. He's really, really thrilled. And you can watch the series to see that now he plays with his cars and he sits up. And he hasn't been abused in any way, shape, or form. And they haven't diminished his life at all by asking him to not lay down and watch the car and not allowing him to do it at these moments. So I put that out there for all of us as sort of a calming thing to be able to look at that and say, because, sometimes it's hard, and there's a very fine line as a parent between when we're pushing our kids to do things that are hard for them, that are good for them, and that they need to do developmentally, and when it's that we're just not honoring their spirit. It's a very hard line. But I encourage you to watch that and see that for our young kids, encouraging them to do a different skill set, I feel like it's really clear in that video for me as a parent. And just one of the many reasons why I love this series, because I can look at that and I'm having an emotional reaction because I see that baby and I want to make it better for him. I don't want him to go through that, right? And then I see that 30 seconds later, he's just a happy clam. And I can watch that for that. When it's my kid crying, I have a much harder time. And I'm sure that you guys too as well. But these are worthwhile things. And notice how the quality ABA therapist, she's not barking orders at him. She's not giving him a laundry list. In fact, there's very little words said about it. She just is, sit up, and that's it. And she lets him cry. She doesn't say, stop crying. When it starts to wind down, she gives him back into another lesson, something that he can absolutely succeed in. and he gets back on track. Have you ever had a day where you felt like, and I started the show by saying we're all a little off the rails or hanging on the rails because of the time change, and one thing can make your whole day miserable, right? And then somebody does something and something wonderful happens and it's like everything gets righted again. Same thing for our kids. We get that behavioral momentum is what it's called. We give them something easy to do and then we give them a reward for it and they're happy and smiles. Then we can go back into the teaching. It really is a lovely way of being able to teach a child so that they create more progress. And if you don't believe it, watch a little bit further on in the series so you see some of the amazing progress that Jack Riley has made. My son and Jack Riley got to, in fact, I think that's up now. They went to the zoo, the Los Angeles Zoo together and had a great time. Unfortunately, I think one of the best times for them at the zoo, because it was really one of the hottest days last fall that we went, and in Los Angeles in the fall it can be beastly hot. We were in triple digits when we were there and trying to be mopped down so that everything wasn't, wet and sticky. Good luck. And towards the end of the day, we went into the condor exhibit, like the only air-conditioned place in all of the Los Angeles Zoo. And people were coming through the door, and after a while, we like to listen to people coming through the door because they would come through the door and go, oh, this rush of emotion because it was cool. And we took the boys in there and they have this lab where it's an interactive lab where they can do all these things. They can do surgery on a condor. They can do all these things. And that was when they took myself and the dad and we went and did an interview while the kids played in the lab with other people, supervising. They had the best time playing with each other. And it was really amazing to me to see my child playing with Jack Riley and how interactive they were. And they were just giggles. And there was a place where you could crawl through and they were, running around and being kids, but being very interactive and communicating with each other. And it was just lovely. It was delish on a stick. And of course, we weren't filming that because we were filming the interview. It's always amazing when you let the kids just go, though. And that wouldn't have happened for either one of those boys if they had not had this kind of an intervention. It just wouldn't have. Imagine if we had taken them in, if we'd left Jack Riley to lay on his side to watch trains, he would have gone into that condor exhibit and laid down on the carpet and probably picked, they had these fake meat things that you could feed the condors to, and he would have laid down. They had this very tactile service. He would have laid down there, and I know my son for sure would have done that. And there would have been no conversation between the two of them, certainly no laughter, no giggles. We would never want that, right? Love, love, love this example of the A word. Okay, so we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, and in just a little while, we're going to be joined by, I want to get her name right, it's Danielle Kelly, and she's from... I have it here someplace. I don't. Autism Innovation. I've got it. And she has written a new book about social skills, and we're going to be so excited to have her, but that's in a little while. Stick with us. We've got one more segment before that. We'll be right back.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're talking about technology and autism all this week, and in just a little while we're going to be joined by Danielle Kelly, and she is with Autism Innovations and has written a really amazing book called 0 to 60, talking about teaching social skills. So we're going to be joined by her in just a few minutes, but I wanted to take just a second to talk about, in terms of technology, how we can use technology. Some of the questions that have come in today have been specifically about insurance and about funding for ABA, because I got on my soapbox a little bit about we have to get between 30 and 40 hours of ABA, especially if you have a child who's under 5, and I really usually say under 6, but the experts will tell you under the age of 5, you really need to get that prescription. So I want to tell you that there are a couple of different ways that you can research and find out a beginning preliminary of what is funded in your state. And everybody's been asking questions about Florida. And I'll do more research on this, but when you start out, you can go to centerforautism.com. On the front page, they have something, a box for the Affordable Care Act. If you click on that, it sends you to an interactive map that shows you, first of all, you can look at the different key to see which states have which kind of funding, but then further you can click on the state and it brings you a pop-up box, and I'm going to read to you exactly what it says about Florida. It says Florida has an autism mandate but does not offer coverage for autism treatment through its state exchange. Large group and HMOs should include coverage for autism treatment. Okay, so what we know from that then is that currently on the books there is a law that says that, and we talked last week about those non-ERISA plans. If it is a self-funded plan, it's not going to be covered by that mandate. But if you want to ask whether your insurance is insurance or self-funded, because you do have a mandate. But unfortunately, because of some of the things that happened with the Affordable Care Act, some states, their health coverage plan will cover it and others won't. So what I'm hearing from you guys is that Medicaid is saying between 15 and 20 hours, depending on the severity of the child. The one thing that I really want to address there is when it comes down to severity. Here is a way that as parents we sometimes shoot ourselves in the foot. Nancy Alsbaugh-Jackson really talked about this a little bit last week. She said that when her son first went in to be evaluated, that she was still in a little bit of denial and that she was constantly trying to make things look better than perhaps they might have been. And I said, I, fortunately, because of a local support group, was given information and said, when you go to any kind of a review for your child that involves placement and funding for your child, make sure that you are describing your child's behavior on their worst day. Never try to gild the lily, never try to make them sound better than they are when it is tied to funding, right? We don't want to give people an excuse to not give your child funding. They're going to evaluate your child and they're going to get information, but we don't want to be a part of making it sound better, because a large portion of what decisions are based on are on parent reporting. game. I know it feels bad, it feels negative to make your child sound like their worst day, right? But if that's what's necessary to make sure that your child gets ongoing care, you really have to do it. And unfortunately or fortunately, there are other parents that do know that are there and saying, hey, I need this. And it really comes down to whoever advocates the most for their child. That makes me sick to say. It literally churns my stomach, but I want you to know that for a lot of us, that is the reality. And when you make peace with that and say, okay, well, if that's the game, then I have to be the best advocate for my child that I possibly can. So step up and say, look, I need to be reevaluated, my child, and find the ways that your child is severe. I would venture that for any child who is about to be 4 that is having difficulty socializing, communicating, they are meeting with frustration at some point. When I think about my son on his worst day, that meant that he was kicking and clawing and biting me and would not walk, and that I had to physically pick him up and carry him because there was no compliance, right? So that's what I described about what was going on with my son. And if you're having an individual who's frustrated, I'm sure that there's some moment on their Richter scale when that frustration is popping out. That's what you need to describe. But we will chase down whether there's more information about Medicaid. It's sounding, because I'm hearing that from several people, between 15 and 20 hours based on severity. And then, as I said earlier, then you got to figure out how you're going to supplement, and that doesn't have to be something that's very expensive. We know lots of families who have been able to use skills, use IBT, get volunteers from a local organization, a church, or a group that are willing to do the work of learning how to do these therapies and then implementing them. It can be done, right? We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have Danielle Kelly with Autism Innovations. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Ryan with Autism Research Group. We study ways to improve the lives of kids with autism. One of those ways is teaching safety skills, such as what to do if they get lost. We hit the streets to find out if anybody knows the correct answer on how to teach a kid what to do if they get lost. You're teaching a child.
What to do if they get lost.
Yeah, you're trying to make them independent so they have the skills.
Gotcha, okay.
Well, give them a compass. Code name's good idea, Centurion.
We always have this whistle.
Oh, I'd also tell the kid, don't get scared. You're gonna be all right, man. This is just the world. This is planet Earth. You're at home here. As long as you're on planet Earth, you're at home.
As long as you're on planet Earth, you're home. This guy's a genius. With that flawless logic, he just solved our homeless problem. And as for the unique sounding whistle, although very cool, it'll probably only work if you're in close proximity. And a compass.
I have her call me.
Yeah, she don't have a phone. Parents are like, you're too young, you don't need a phone.
Establish some sort of meeting place.
What if they can't find a meeting place? Because sometimes the kids get nervous when they get lost.
Yeah.
So like a backup plan, plan B.
Yeah, I don't know. No, not really.
Let them go and find a new kid. Or
Yeah, I've got a different one. Yeah.
There's not much you can do.
There is stuff you can do.
Right?
That's right, there is stuff you can do. In 2012, myself, along with my colleagues, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox and Dr. Adele Nadowski, published a study in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis on teaching kids what to do when they get lost. The study demonstrated how 3 simple things, rules, role-playing, and praise, were effective in establishing these help-seeking behaviors. The benefit of this method is it doesn't require the child to have a cell phone or to have to locate a meeting place, which might be difficult if they're in a place like Disneyland. So once again, our method included rules, role-playing, and praise. Let's head back outside and learn about some of these rules.
They should yell out loud. Can't find my mom, help me.
Maybe yell out and scream for help. All right, scream really loud. Correct. And if that doesn't work, then
I don't know.
well, they could seek help from someone.
Find an adult.
Yeah, go to a vendor, and say I'm lost.
Find an adult, like a police officer or a fireman or an employee in the store, and tell them, and maybe they can help you contact your parent. It really is that simple. You don't need to get your kid a cell phone. You don't need to establish a meeting place that they might not be able to find when they're lost and panicking. And you definitely don't need to give them a compass. All your kid has to do is 3 things. First, yell mom or dad real loud. 2, if that doesn't work, find an employee. And then 3rd, tell the employee they're lost. If they can't locate an employee, then tell them to find a mother with children, because that's probably the safest person to approach. I'm not saying that most men are predators, but most predators are men. That is a fact. I've read it in a fortune cookie. All right, so you've gone over the rules with your kid, and you've quizzed them, and they're able to tell you the correct responses so they understand the rules. But is that enough? How do you know they're going to perform correctly in a real-world setting? You need to get out there and find out if they can actually do it.
So you'd go over the rules and tell them, like, do this, do that, but how would you know if they actually knew what to do? If you wanted to shoot a basketball, and I just told you, oh, when you shoot a basketball, do this, this, and this.
I never practiced.
You never practiced? Yeah, so it don't matter how many times we go over the rules or how well you can repeat them back to me. It's not going to change until you get on the court and practice.
Maybe do like a, a little skit with them.
Like a role play?
Role play, yeah.
Your child, you're lost in the toy aisle.
Okay.
What do you do? I'm an attendant, walking around.
I'm lost, I don't know where my mom is. And then once you practice, you just like praise them, give them feedback, like good job, you did it.
Reinforcing it.
Yes, this woman wins the prize for best comment. She pointed out the most important part of learning. Reinforcement. Now, in our study, we used praise, but for your kid, you might have to use something else. You might have to buy them a treat, a toy, take them to their favorite restaurant where they can eat unhealthy food and run around and climb through plastic tunnels that have the unmistakable scent of urine, and then play games spending $20 to get a plastic little spider ring that they will eventually lose in a ball pit. The point is, you need to reward your child for correctly demonstrating what you've been teaching them.
Okay, I'm gonna call her. Hello, your child, Ryan Ouch is missing. There you go.
Woohoo!
Yay!
So you tested it out
I'll
in the
try.
store to make sure I knew it. I had the rules,
Yes.
we role played it, and you made sure I knew it, and then like you said good job and all that. Now we're good to go.
We're good to go.
All right.
Done?
High five right there.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Give your child the rules, get out there and practice, and reward your child for responding correctly. For more information, please visit us online at autismresearchgroup.org. I'm Ryan Bergstrom. Thanks for watching. Yes, ding, no. Yes, this woman wins the first. Yes, this woman. Yes, this woman wins the best. Yes, this woman wins the first place. Yes, this woman wins. Why can't I say woman? Yes, this woman wins. What's the line? Yes!
Welcome back to Autism Live. So excited to welcome our next guest to the show for the first time. We're welcoming Danielle Kelly, and she's coming to us from North Carolina. And she works for an organization called Autism Innovations, but she is also the author of an exciting new book that we want to talk about, From 0 to 60, Teaching Social Skills to Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We are so thrilled to have you here. So first of all, let's start by talking about Autism Innovations. What is that, Danielle?
Autism Innovations is a company that I started having worked in the field of special education for about a dozen years, and there is an apparent need to do home-based intensive interventions in social skills instruction, looking at the research and data. And the data found, there was a study done, I believe it was at Indiana University, that said that there were problems, there were not so much problems, but it was difficult for children to internalize the social skills, the deficits that they were having in schools, because it was during pullout. It was basically a disruption in their routine. So in order to really help them, to attend to the task and rehearse the skills and perform them, they had to be in a comfortable setting. So what's their most comfortable setting is within the home. So all of my staff, they're all, amazing, wonderful ladies. They're all special ed certified teachers with years and years of knowledge and expertise in various areas. And we go into the homes, and the sessions are an hour and a half. It's one-on-one instruction with the staff member and the child, and we serve early. I have wonderful staff that's certified early interventions, and we work with adults all the way through adulthood. And after the teaching time, the instructional time, it's about 60 minutes, maybe a little bit more or less, depending upon the child's cognition and and ability to focus and sustain. Then it's parent conferencing time, because there is no magic wand that the staff can wave to help with the skills. The skills have to be rehearsed and performed. So we work with the families to say, okay, this is what we did this session, and this is what now you can do to help your child to grow emotionally and recognize their triggers and the things that are causing them the behavioral difficulties. I also do advocacy and training, staff trainings, and things like that.
Really, really remarkable. And all of that has led to you writing this new book, From 0 to 60, Teaching Social Skills to Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders. So tell us a little bit about what someone can expect to find in this book.
Well, the book is social skills. The way I introduce it, it's the most common, looking at, the data that I have for a lot of our clients, the most common problems for, late elementary school adolescent individuals. And it helps them break down the skill and make a connection between what they're doing and why it's causing a problem. Because, with the deficits, the sensory deficits and difficulty reading with pragmatic language and reading cues and body language and things like that, half the time, these children with autism don't understand, what's going on, and it's very upsetting for them. So the social skills stories paint an image of a student that's doing, or an individual that's, being successful, and one that's not being successful, and then it breaks it down and explains why. And there's everything is, of course, can be duplicated, and I try to make it teacher friendly. But in the introduction, in the beginning, I kind of laid it all out, because having been on both sides of the IEP table, having worked for the school system and as an autism specialist, and as department head and LEA meetings, and now being on the other side of the table as an advocate, there really is, I don't want to say disconnect, but there really is a lot of difficulty with people understanding the connection between the behavior, sensory sensitivities, and what they're seeing. And I feel like children with autism are so unfairly labeled as problematic or withdrawn or oppositional, and all of it is because it's a manifestation of their disability, period. And their the sensory issues and the other things that are kind of going on. So in the book, the introduction does explain that, and then each social story addresses a different problem. Some of them are homework completion, different things that they do, appropriate behavior, inappropriate behavior, which of course is kind of a gray area. So a lot of things do need to be modeled. And then in the back, I have a crisis intervention processing sheet that helps the child break down, okay, what's my problem? Why is it a problem? And what are different things that we can do going forward, because that's really important. And then in the back of the book, I have an answer key, because if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. And it's very hard, I think, especially for new teachers or people that are new into the field of special ed and those that are teaching content subjects, to understand how to teach these kids, because everybody's so different.
Absolutely.
So in the back, there's a guide that says, here are some different ideas and things like that.
What a remarkable resource. So let's start by, where should people go to find out more information about Autism Innovations, and also where can we get the book?
The book is available on Amazon.com or on my website. And the website is Autism Innovations website, which is www.auinnovations.com. And there's a tab that says Autism Publications, and it's listed on there.
Wonderful.
Or, I'm a big Amazon Prime member, so.
There you go.
So Amazon, it's on Amazon too.
Fabulous. All right, we're going to talk some more with Danielle, and you have the ability to ask questions on the live feature, but we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be right back with her. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are with Danielle Kelly. She's coming to us live from North Carolina via Skype. We thank Skype for that. And we're talking with her about her new book, From 0 to 60. It is subtitled Teaching Social Skills to Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders. And you were saying that because when you meet one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. And I think a lot of parents write into us, Danielle, and talk about that they have so many different difficulties with social skills, and sometimes it's figuring out, where do I start? It seems so complex. And I know with my son, who's 10 and a half at this point, he has some skills, and so I think I'm always so hopeful and thinking, oh, he's going to be able to manage this social skill, but it's those little itty-bitty skills that sometimes trip them up. So what does your book do to help us as parents to be able to understand what's missing and how to fill those gaps?
Well, really, what it does is it introduces the problem, and a lot of times, kids with autism, in particular, the first chapter is called Controlling My Anger, and a lot of times, kids with autism they don't even recognize what their triggers are, the sensory triggers that cause the behaviors and the frustration. So it's, they'll sit in the same environment. If, you have somebody that has a sensitivity to light, I've worked with kids who, will block their arms, or they will, clients will crawl under desks in the classroom or just get up and run away. And flight is one of the scariest behaviors. Yeah. So it's helping them, it's introducing the problem, and it really breaks it down. And I felt that, doing this in such a concrete matters because children with autism are concrete, logical thinkers. So it's very hard for them, especially if they're redirected in school and says, act correctly. Well, what is correct? That's such a gray area. So what my book does is each chapter, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
My computer. Each chapter introduces the problem, and it talks about, what's your version, and it lets the kids give their take on things, because that's important too, processing through things and different issues and circumstances with kids.
And is there a certain age range that your book is good for?
I don't want to say everybody. It depends. It's really aimed for children who are, I want to say like 4th grade to 9th grade. But if you have a child that's older, that's in high school, and are struggling with some of these things, it can of course be used in that area too. You just have to look at the child's strengths and ability levels, really, I would say, to kind of gauge. But it's problems and the things that are introduced, I would say really would be, 4th grade through 10th grade.
I think this is such an important area, and I so appreciate you writing this book. And I can imagine that parents, they could benefit not only from getting it for themselves, but also getting a copy for their child's teacher.
Yeah, and I try to make it teacher friendly and price it so that it's affordable, because a lot of times the resources that are available are really expensive. And like I said, having been a classroom teacher, when they came in and everything crashed and they said there's no more money, it was like, okay, well now what do we do? Yeah. So it is, like I said, it's accessible and it's available, and I try to make it teacher friendly. And even though it's hard because individual needs, of course, are individualized for each child with autism, but, the problems that are talked about in here in the 9 chapters kind of happen across the board. They're very common for kids.
It's pretty broad. So your child is going to fit in there somewhere. You're going to get good information somewhere. So Danielle, tell us, after your name, you have MED, right, for Master's in Education, but then you have NBCT. Tell our viewers what that stands for.
National Board Certified Teacher. Okay. It was a very rigorous and grueling process. You had to prove, I guess, that in the top tier of teachers. You could look it up online. All the information is out there. So it was after my master's degree, I kind of was thinking about, okay, well, what do I do next? And short of starting my program for a doctorate degree, having a baby, I had an infant at the time, and I said, okay, well, what do I do next to learn more and grow as a teacher and as an educator? So a girlfriend of mine was doing her national boards, and she said, it's the last year North Carolina's paying for it. You have to do it. So I said, okay, I guess I can. And actually, excuse me, I was expecting my second daughter at the time. So I ended up mailing my national board box into Texas. I think that's where I had to send it. And I gave birth a couple days later. So in my video, you have to film yourself teaching to show that, of course. So I was just ginormously pregnant. And it was funny because I emailed my administrators at the time. I said, oh, I passed my national boards. Oh, and by the way, I had the baby.
Well, it is a very impressive credential, and so I want to make sure that I included that. And again, we want to talk about Autism Innovations and what area you're servicing there in North Carolina for our North Carolina viewers who are watching.
We work with everybody. We take clients that are medically frail, that are homeschooled. We work with young adults that have comorbid diagnoses such as Down syndrome, as well as autism spectrum disorders. A lot of companies are either at a center, so they're ABA based, of course, and it would be, you have to bring the child or the individual to their center. And that is very difficult in, today's day and age. Everybody's working, everybody's here, there, and everywhere. So we serve kids, of course, in the home, and it's Monday through Saturday. Of course, we will pick a Sunday, work a Sunday if that's what the parent needs. And we work with all ages and all cognition and all behaviors.
And geographically, like what cities do you service?
We serve Wake County, Johnston County, and Durham County.
Okay.
So that's, the RTP area.
And if people want more information, again, they can go to that auinnovations.org.
.com.
Okay, and while they're there, they can go on the publications tab and they can also order the book, or they can go to Amazon. And as you mentioned, if you're an Amazon Prime, it's that much better. So, yeah. Danielle, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, if anybody's outside of RTP, I don't want to not help you. Of course, call and we could do a conference or something like that. I had a woman call from South Carolina. She saw us on Facebook, and she's having a lot of, a lot of things going on with her daughter. So I said, okay, well, let's try this, and this. And of course, with technology and FaceTime and Skype, conferences can be done with technology as well. So I don't want to say I won't help anybody that's outside of the RTP area.
Okay. We love that attitude.
Yeah, our in-home services are constricted, because that's where my staff is, to Wake County, Durham County, and Johnston County.
Well, really remarkable. Thank you so much for being with us, Danielle. And we'll look forward to hearing more great things coming out of Autism Innovations.
Thank you so much.
All right, you have a good week.
You too.
Bye-bye. Really amazing. And so again, her book is From 0 to 60, subtitled Teaching Social Skills to Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders, and you can find that on Amazon.com. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more information after these messages.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called and they informed me that he had received a grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. We underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We've been having a conversation today about services in Florida and what they will pay for and what they won't pay for through Medicaid. And one of our viewers who is in Florida, who knows more than I do, and I had put out feelers for different people, but somebody wrote in and said, "Hi, Shannon, just wanted to say for other parents in Florida that there is so much misunderstanding. Medicaid allows up to 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day maximum. And during the summer, I got coverage throughout the Medicaid for all those 40 hours. Push the ABA provider, as most of them say, maximum of 30 hours for the child, since they want to bill the remaining 10 hours so they make sure that they make profits. Check the hours billed when you get the paper, when you get the insurance paperwork back, and make sure that you get the most. Just want to be clear that, first of all, and this is why we count on parents, right? Other parents to say. I can tell you that in the state of California, I was hearing from people, oh, this provider will give you up to 20 hours a week. And I said, I can't do it on 20 hours a week. I have to get to that 30. And everybody told me, oh, no, they won't pay more than 20. And then I found one parent who was getting 30 hours a week from that provider. Because I was trying to put two things together, and I wanted to ask one entity to pay for 10, and I wanted wanted this other entity to pay for the 30, so I was going to get my 40, right? And I was being told, oh no, the one entity will pay for 10 or for 20, and the other one won't pay for anything. That isn't how it ended up working out. I ended up getting the 30, and I ended up getting the full 40 that I needed altogether, right? So this is why it's so important. When you know that somebody else is getting it, then it fires you up and you go, well, then it's possible. So somebody's getting 40 hours a week, but they're telling you to caution and look at that. They'll tell you that they're only getting 30 because probably that extra 10 they're billing as administrative stuff. And you want to be really careful. They do have to do some administrative stuff out of your billing, right? But 10 feels a little high to me. And we'll ask Dr. Grandpichet about that tomorrow. She'll know more about that than we do. But there's our good answer, that Medicaid will pay for 40. They paid for it last summer for somebody else. So you need to get in there and push your ABA provider to get you 40, and then check your bills to make sure, because they're probably billing for 40 but saying 30 to you. Great advice. We want to thank that parent for writing in. This is how we get good information so that we all make sure that we're getting what we should. That local parent support group, so important, right? Because they can tell you things like that. I remember too when we had an opportunity to get funded for respite, and they said, how much would you like? And I said, what do you mean, how much would I like? You're supposed to tell me how much I can get. And they said, no, you have to tell us how much you need. That's how this works. And then I'm like, I don't know what to ask for. Went to the local support group, and it was fascinating to see everybody's response. I put it out there and said, how much respite does everybody get? And some people said, oh, well, I was given 8 hours a month, and somebody else who said, oh, I was given 20 hours a week. Go figure, right? Ask the questions of the other parents, and you've heard it here that somebody is getting 40 hours a week, 8-hour maximum from Medicaid in Florida. They got it last summer. So now we have the answer to that, and I thank you very much. Okay, we got to go over some of the things that are happening tomorrow. First, ask Dr. Doreen tomorrow in the morning. Your questions, so super important. I've got a few already in my stash, but I could use a bunch more. Be writing them in right now. Also, in the second hour, Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy Allspot-Jackson will be with us, and so will Susan Campbell-Cross. We're going to be talking about how we can eat better and do it for less, how you get those veggies in your house and make it so that you'll eat them and that your child or children or significant other will eat them and not be throwing good produce away, which is what so many of us end up doing, right? I'm guilty as charged. Then on Thursday, don't forget, we've got a cavalcade. I talked earlier about how we're going to have somebody talking about robots. We've got somebody talking about MIT Scratch. We have a woman who's going to talk to us about Makota rings that are these amazing technology that's going to help our kids in so many different ways, including getting them physically fit. It's really exciting. Big day on Thursday. And don't forget, on Friday, Holly Robinson Pete, and we're going to give away 2 Nabi tablets during that hour that we're with Holly Robinson Pete. Really big week. So excited to be here. We want to thank our guests today, 2 amazing guests. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.